Hello everyone, my name is Kenny George and I'm here to talk to you about design at Meridian High School. So a little bit about myself first. I'm an Ohio native, was born, Canton, Akron region, grew up there, went to college there. Entering my 5th year now here at Meridian High School. I'm my 16th year of teaching. So I've taught many different subjects, photography, TV media, graphic design, film studies, robotics. Began my career as an art teacher. I was a visual artist. My degree is actually in studio art. So you'll see later on as I discuss kind of my teaching philosophy where I pull my art background into the kind of design program and how that informs, how I teach and what we do. So let's go ahead and real quickly look at a brief overview of what design at Meridian High School could look like. So this year I will be teaching the classes on the left and at the bottom, Design 1, Basic Technical Drawing, Design 2, Engineering Drawing, and then IB Design and Technology Standard Level, Higher Level 1, and Higher Level 2. So if a student were to enter design, which is part of the Career and Technical Education program here at Meridian High School, they would be entering probably through Design 1 or Computer Graphics 1, and I'll talk later about what we do in design, but you'll see that they could take it for up to 4 years. They could go Design 1 to Design 2 and then go into IB at a higher level where it's a 2-year course. So the difference between the standard level and the higher level is you do the standard level in 1 year, the higher level you do in 2, and you have a little additional content that second year that we cover. So there's opportunities to take design for 4 years and really kind of hone in on that skill, or to jump in for a year or two and just kind of like, get some background on it. So this flowchart just shows you some of the possibilities. So just to give you, like I said, a little bit about my kind of philosophy, coming from an art background and having taught art, design is a career and technical education program, so we do get into kind of the technical nitty-gritty of projection drawing, drafting, computer-aided design, and then kind of design to fabrication. So we have a full workshop here with numerous CNC machines, laser cutters, CNC mills, a lot of kind of carpentry tools and metalworking tools, saws and milling operations, and different sorts of really great ways students can get into kind of taking an idea and fabricating it. But before we really get into all of that, we kind of begin with the kind of idea that we need to kind of think about design as a solution to a problem. So design kind of identifies problems and then thinks of creative ways to approach that problem and present a solution. So a lot of what we talk about when we complete our units, everything kind of focuses around an identified problem and this idea that we use design to kind of come up with creative ways to, make that problem either go away or to ease the burden of that problem. So we do this through using what we call the iterative process in a fluid workflow, with the idea that like we're not always just kind of, everything's not linear. We're kind of going back and forth, kind of like trial and error, working together. We might have to go back to the beginning at some points to re-identify the problem if the solution isn't doing what we want. So that idea that kind of design is just it's not just a straight start to finish, but it's a back and forth process. So we focus a lot on that. And so just to kind of give you some background on how that gets graded. So Design 1 and Design 2 follow what we call the MYP design standards. So there's 4 criterion. Criterion A, which is inquiring and analyzing, identifying the problem. Criterion B, developing ideas. So that's the iterative process. That's kind of coming up with conceptual sketches and thinking your ideas through. Criterion C, creating a solution. So that's actually building the solution to the problem based on your ideas. And then criterion D, which is evaluating. So that's the idea that you would test your prototype or your solution to see if it's successful in solving the problem. So we kind of go through those 4 processes. We'll do usually in both of those classes 4 to 6 units per year, where we run through all 4 steps of that design cycle. It is an IB kind of design cycle, but if you were to study design in other universities or institutions or programs, you would see a very similar document that looks at kind of designing through the same lens of the 4 steps. Grading is typically 80% summative, so based on kind of the evaluation, we do criterion reference. So we always reference those 4 MYP criterions, A, B, C, and D. And that kind of gets a formative grade or a summative grade. And then 20% of the grade would be formative. So that'd be looking at kind of activities in the class, participation in discussions, warm-ups that are kind of like check-ins on students' kind of understanding of a concept, or kind of technical exercises that are building the skills and competencies needed to successfully produce a product. So that is kind of where it's at. If you have more questions about that, reach out to me, or you could see the syllabus for more on the specifics of the MYP criterion. So IB Design and Technology, very similar, 80-40. The projects are a little different. IB hands down a curriculum, obviously, for me, so that it's a great curriculum. Looks a lot at the same things. Gets more in the weeds of philosophy of design, like why we design, what a difference between invention and innovation is, talking about how sustainability plays a big role in design. As you can see, I've got my UN Sustainable Development Goals hanging on the wall. This is a crux in all of my teaching philosophy, thinking that design should be productive and should kind of benefit positive change in the world. So the IB design looks a lot at like the design cycle and how design would kind of be applied to kind of humanity. So we look at that. There is an IB exam at the end of whatever your exam year, so the end of the second year of HL, the end of the first year of SL. So we take some tests and quizzes in IB design to kind of prepare for that exam, and then students do some projects to kind of continue building their skills, and then they'll also work on what's called an internal assessment. That is a year or 2 year long project that they would submit to IB that would demonstrate that they excuse me, have kind of worked through this design process at a kind of high advanced level, and they've really kind of committed themselves to identifying a unique problem that they've found in the world, and they've found a solution to that problem, prototyped it, and tested it to see if it was successful. It does not actually have to be successful. That's the cool thing about design. It's not about always having a successful solution. It's about going through the process, because it may take you 20 times to get it right, but through the process you eventually will. Any questions, feel free to email me, george.k@fccps.org. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to a great school year.